Guys, in this video, we're going to talk about how to transfer ownership when buying and or selling a short-term vacation rental property for your Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com rentals, those platform changes, how that works. Now, you want to watch this video because it's pretty insightful, and I've got a little trick that I'm going to show you that property management companies and real estate agents and brokers like myself use in order to transfer rentals. You don't want to miss it. You definitely want to be up to date on it, and you don't want to find yourself in a situation where you're unprepared or not equipped to know exactly what's going to go on when that property sells. It's all in this video. Let's get after it now. Now, real quick, before we dive into that change of ownership and platform change topic, you have to understand the Vacation Rental Act. It is a document that you must sign every time you purchase an oceanfront condo or sell an oceanfront condo. It outlines that rentals must be honored for up to 90 days post-closing. Now, we're going to dive into all those do's and don'ts and how that works technically. And in that context, it's going to be very easy to understand these platform changes. Let's dive into that now. All right, guys, the first part of it. The undersigned parties hereby agree as follows. The property being sold is subject to a vacation rental agreement. The buyer will take title subject to the vacation rental agreement and the vacation rental management agreement for all vacation periods that begin no later than 90 days after the buyer's deed is recorded. If the buyer does not desire to continue renting the property pursuant to the vacation rental agreement and or the vacation rental management agreement, the buyer shall be responsible for canceling any vacation periods beginning more than 90 days after the buyer's deed is recorded. That simple. The herein agreement upon its execution by both parties is herewith made an integral part of the aforementioned agreement. Now, let's kind of dive into some of this. A vacation rental refers to a rental period less than 90 days in duration. Most commonly, vacation rental situations are weekly rentals of a resort condominium. The sale of residential property rented for periods of less than 90 days where those rentals are managed by a third-party management company falls under the South Carolina Vacation Rental Act. Herein, the Act. The core rule is as follows. The purchaser of a residential property subject to a vacation rental takes title subject to the vacation rental agreement and the vacation rental management agreement for all vacation rental periods that begin no later than 90 days after the purchaser's deed is recorded. Now, let's jump into what those two agreements are. Vacation rental agreement refers to the written rental agreement between the management company and the tenant. The vacation rental management company refers to the written agreement between the seller and the management company, like the property management company. The Act imposes duties on the seller and the purchaser as follows. Now, this is where it starts breaking down what's for the seller and what's for the buyer. As to the seller, prior to the contract ratification, the seller must disclose in writing that the property is subject to the existence of a rental management agreement and must also disclose all rental reservations. In part, this means the seller must reveal the existence of the rental management agreement in Section 7 of the Residential Property Disclosure. Within 14 days after contract ratification, the seller must disclose the purchaser's name and address to the rental management company. This must be done in writing. Within 14 days after the closing, the seller must disclose the purchaser's name, address, and the date the deed was recorded to the rental management company. This must be done in writing. Now, this next part's for the purchaser. As to the purchaser, as stated above, the purchaser must honor all vacation rental periods beginning within 90 days after the deed is recorded. If the purchaser does not wish to honor rental reservations, which begin after the 90-day protected period, he should direct the management company to notify the affected tenants and to effect a return of any deposits paid by those tenants. These refunds must be made within 45 days after the deed is recorded. So essentially, and it's got some comments here, the Act specifically states a seller's failure to disclose a vacation rental agreement, the agreement between the management company and the tenant, does not void the sales contract. The failure of a seller to disclose the existence of a vacation rental management agreement, the agreement between the seller and the management company, presumably does allow a purchaser to void the sales agreement if the purchaser wishes to do so. Though the Act requires existing rental reservations to be honored during the 90-day protected period and requires the purchaser accept the existing rental management company as the manager of those existing rental reservations, the purchaser is not bound to allow the existing management company to book further rental reservations during the 90-day protected period. In other words, if the purchaser prefers using new management company, the existing management company's involvement is limited to the management of rental reservations it arranged. That simple and that easy. Now, can you start, and in my opinion, you can start your own Airbnb and VRBO and Booking.com listings and black out the dates that have been revealed to you that are currently booked during that 90-day period, and go ahead and start advertising your unit for rent for direct bookings through those platforms. Absolutely, you want to get the jump on that. And additionally, the day of closing, you want to send a copy of your closing statement to the property management company. Let them know that you're the new owner and you want to cancel your agreement with them if you don't want to use them, if you plan on self-managing that property. You need to give that notice immediately. All right, now moving right along, though the Act requires existing rental reservations be honored during the 90-day protected period and requires the purchaser accept the existing rental management company as the manager of those existing rental reservations, the purchaser is not bound to allow the existing management company to book further rental reservations during the 90-day protected period. In other words, if the purchaser prefers using a new management company, the existing management company's involvement will be limited to the management of rental reservations it arranged. Though the purchaser of the property subject to the Act must honor rental reservations beginning within 90 days after the deed is recorded, some purchasers may wish to avoid even these rentals if it is possible to do so. In these situations, the seller may ask the management company to move those reservations to other available units. The management company is not required to do this, but many will or will at least make the effort. The Act does not govern self-managed vacation rentals. In other words, if there is no third-party management company and the seller instead manages the rental reservations him or herself, the Act does not apply, and it is up to the purchaser and seller to negotiate terms relative to the rental reservations. In this situation, the rental agreements and the deposits paid to the seller by the future tenants should be transferred to the purchaser at closing. All right, so real fast and in a hurry, Airbnb and VRBO does not allow for platform changes. Now, as a seller who's in this business, I would imagine that you would not want to change your Airbnb platform over to a buyer that's buying your property, because what happens if you buy more short-term rentals, more short-term vacation rental properties? What happens if you have other Airbnb properties that you'd like to list using your account and you want to make sure that all of those online reviews stay with your name? Well, why would you want to give all that hard work away to somebody else? It doesn't make sense. So I don't advise you to ever transfer your platform to a buyer client. Absolutely not. Let them start their own Airbnb and VRBO account and build it up, because even if you're selling off rentals now, what happens if 2 or 3 years you want to buy another one, or you want to buy a few later on? You're still going to want to have that account intact. Now, Airbnb and VRBO do not allow you to transfer the platform to a buyer client. However, there is a pretty little nifty workaround that a property management company shared with me on a transaction I'm doing over at the retreat at Glens Bay. Excellent property, 5 minutes from the beach, by the way. If you want details on that, check out some of my other videos. But I'm going to cover that with you now. All right, so if you'll see on your screen there, when you can't transfer listings on Airbnb or VRBO, because you can on Booking.com, but when you can't, and the buyer is really wanting to make sure that they get those rentals, According to South Carolina state law, vacation rentals must be honored up to 90 days post-closing per the Vacation Rental Act. However, this is how we accomplish that. You'll see on your screen there, it says, the undersigned parties hereby agree as follows. Seller to pay buyer for all upcoming reservations following closing, including cleaning fees immediately following the stay, or when seller receives payment for the following reservation numbers, blank, 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 blank. Buyer and his management company will be responsible for hosting these reservations and will take liability for any maintenance, damages, or repairs that occur during these stays. So essentially what's going to happen here is the rentals are going to stay on the books. The seller is going to collect payment for them. The person that's selling the Airbnb condo to the person that's buying the Airbnb condo. The seller is going to collect that payment. They've already booked on his calendar, on his Airbnb and VRBO platform. With this small little addendum in place, now all the seller has to do is send the payment over via Venmo or Zelle or whatever you want to do, transfer the payment over, including cleaning fees, to the buyer that bought that property. It's that simple and that easy, guys. Now, the buyer is going to take all of the liability with that little statement there for any kind of repairs or issues and responsibility for hosting those people. So the seller doesn't have to really do anything except for transfer the cash once he makes payment as those guests stay at his unit. I think it is a brilliant way, a brilliant workaround for handling the fact that Airbnb and VRBO will not allow an ownership platform change. It's an excellent little trick I learned and I wanted to share it with you guys. Now, on to Booking.com. Booking.com does allow for platform changes. Let's get into that now. All right, Booking.com. It says new owner must sign agreement with Booking.com. We initiate the process, gathering information from the new owner. So the seller is going to initiate the process. New owner is given instructions from the platform, which that's the buyer of the property. The platform will review and approve the transfer. It takes 7 days to complete. To start the process, we need, number one, date new owner will take over. That's going to be your closing date. 2, the new owner's full name and email address. Obviously, the agents can exchange that information. And then 3, the new owner's phone number. It's that simple and that easy to transfer a platform on Booking.com. But like I said, if you ever plan on being in this game further than the property that you're selling, as a seller, if you're selling your Airbnb or VRBO, your short-term vacation rental property, you might have 5 properties. You might have 10 properties. You might have 15 properties. What's to say that you don't want to keep your account so you can keep renting out your other properties? So of course you don't want to transfer all that. And what's to say up in the road, even if you only own one right now, what's to say 3 years up the road that you might not want to buy another one and do this again? So it's savvy not to change and give your platform ownership over to another person. You can simply use that workaround that I showed you in order to navigate reservations getting transferred from a seller property owner to a buyer property owner and handling that Vacation Rental Act for 90 days post-closing. Because according to South Carolina state law, 90 days post-closing, we have to honor the vacation rentals that are on the books. If you got any questions, guys, or need anything, please send me a text message, shoot me an email, give me a call. My cell phone is 843-360-1737. I get calls and emails all the time from investors just like you looking to make a move, a smart, savvy investment decision in our market. If you've seen any of the videos on my channel, you've seen screenshots of conversations, you've heard stories, there's investor interviews. You need to watch them. You need to learn and get equipped so that you navigate short-term vacation rental property ownership well and effectively, and that you make savvy investment decisions. And for all of you buyers, you first-time buyers out there, that I can't wait for you to call me on the phone so we can talk. Listen, smaller is not smarter. It's better. Bigger is better leverage. Bigger is better leverage. When you're first getting started in this game, you want to buy the largest property you can possibly afford. The larger properties have less competition. There is not as many of them when compared to smaller properties. Additionally, they have higher upside. They have the potential to appeal to a wider audience, and they can make a whole lot more money. Furthermore, if you position them at a resort with a solid reputation, guess what? The reputation of the resort is going to carry you while you're learning the business. Many investors will think, oh, I don't want to take a lot of risk. I need to buy something small, learn the business, and then I'll go ahead and move up. Let's dive into that now. Let's debunk some of these myths that are holding you back from making a savvy investment decision. I get calls and emails every day from investors just like you looking to make their move into the Myrtle Beach market. They want to invest in short-term vacation rental properties. They want to invest in oceanfront condos. They want to know where the best deals are in our market. Well, guys, you're talking to the right person. 843-360-1737. I'm going to help you put your hands on the best deals in our market. If you're a first-time investor or a seasoned investor, if you're 1 year, 6 months, 3 years out, I don't care where you are in the investing process, pick up the phone, give me a call, send me an email, shoot me a text message, and let one of the many stories on our channel be one of your stories.